This podcast is aimed at the veteran community. It hopes to recreate a conversation taking place in any naffy anywhere in the world right now. We want to combat social isolation by letting veterans feel part of this conversation. If you're easily offended, please switch off now. And if you want to see more, please subscribe to this channel and be part of the community.
Hello everyone and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Joseph Mitcham. Joseph is a servant soldier still, but he's also an author, so he's going to be telling us all about his new book later on. Thanks, Joseph. How are you doing?
Me.
No problem.
Really good to be back in Sunderland again.
No problem at all. I mean, we met last May. I think it was last. It must have been last May after the season because I played football at the stadium, and you came to that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Just to see me, obviously.
Yeah, and to support one of my soldiers that was playing the match and support the Veterans in Crisis cause, which was.
It went really well. It was sort of organised by Genesis Security, Genesis Insurance and Protection, and it went really well. I mean, we made a decent sum of money. Got to play on the pitch, although I was only on the pitch for about fucking 10 minutes, to be quite honest. I think because I played twice that end of that season, and the first time my boot splitting off, and the second time I got injured in the warm up. So that's my career over, I think.
Yeah, better than me. I'm not exactly on the football field.
No.
More of a rugby guy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've had to knock that on the head as well.
Have you?
So, yeah, I found out I had a stroke, so
you had a stroke?
With boots, yeah. Only found out about it, came back from Afghanistan. You know how you have to do your hearing test when you return? Failed the hearing test, so they sent me down to have my ear canals checked for cancer, which involved an MRI scan. And the MRI image came back and they said, your ear canal's fine, but you've had a stroke at some time in your life.
Right. And how did you not know then? Oh, it's obviously a very minor thing.
Yeah, well, apparently 1 in 4 of us have got a PFA, they called it.
Oh, fuck, there's only 3 of us in this room.
Yeah,
thank God for that. I'll be honest with you, when the advert comes on, I've got a daughter and a partner, when the advert comes on and it's like 1 in 3, people's going to get cancer, one of us leaves the room. So it's going to be one of yours. You know what I mean? Whoever's standing up moves out the room straight away, so it's not me.
Yeah, so I don't know if that happened while I was serving or before, because I had no symptoms or any idea it happened.
All right.
But when they said, oh, yeah, you've had a stroke, I thought they showed me the image, it'll be some tiny little black mark or something. There's a whole left side of my brain's got this shadow over it.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know, what is a stroke?
So it's where something blocks one of the blood vessels in your brain. Most commonly, it comes from having a hole in the heart, which I found out I'd had.
You'd had?
Yeah, so I must have had the hole in the heart from birth. And what happens is when your body's under strain, that hole kind of opens up, and it's like having a hole in your exhaust. It loses pressure. So
right.
It probably explains why I don't do very good PFA time and really struggle on the 1.5 miles. But that sort of blood escapes and it goes up, and instead of going through your lungs and being filtered before it goes around your body like normal blood flow would, some of that blood goes straight up into your brain, and if there happens to be the tiniest little blood clot in that blood, then it blocks one of those small canals in your brain and starves part of your brain of the oxygen.
Jesus, man. So you've been lucky, really, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, people always think you're unlucky when things like this happen, but you've been lucky as well.
Proper lucky,
you know.
Yeah.
If people are listening and it sounds really windy, it's because the ERV is in the Anne Frank suite, so we're right at the top. The wind is really bad today, so I apologise if the sound sounds like that. But just think what Anne Frank had to put up with. You know what I mean? So if we start off, where were you born?
Born in Haverhill in Suffolk, so hospital in Cambridge, but yeah, brought up in Haverhill, small town, is up in the corner of Suffolk, near Bury St Edmunds, Newmarket, a lot of people heard of because of the racing. But yeah, just a nice little town that was a bit of a London overspill. So I got what is described as a combined Cockney accent.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of people moved after the war, or lots of people during the war were evacuated to East Anglia. My grandparents on my mum's side were some of those people, and then after the war they decided to get back there. So there's loads of sort of Londoners moved out into sort of the sort of farming villages and small towns.
So what was it like growing up there then?
Yeah, it's nice. First few years was in a little village called Keddington, and then my parents split up when I was about 4. So moved into Haverhill into a sort of council house sort of scenario. Just grew up there with my little brother, my mum, and then stepdad came along, and he's been with mum since.
Right. It's nice when you live in the countryside type, isn't it, though? So, especially, I mean, people who join the army, that's what you love, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I obviously lived in Sunderland as a child, but the housing estate I lived in when I was a young child was brand new, so it was all fields and everything round there. So it was just out first thing in the morning, didn't come back till the lights come on the street lights.
Yeah.
Or your mum shouted in for your tea, you know what I mean? It was great. I mean, kids can't do that now, can they?
No.
And, it's a shame, but...
Yeah, we're quite lucky where we live at the moment in Yarm. We're right on the outside of the town, so there's plenty of... we're walking distance from the fields, right on a park.
So what's Yarm like? I mean, we have Grant Ledbetter, Sunderland footballer, he used to play for Middlesbrough. I think he lives down there as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I actually came up to Yarm for a weekend with my civvy mates before I joined the army when I was 18, 19. And Yarm always used to win like the best high street to go for a drink in the FHM magazine.
All right.
So a load of my mates went, all right, we'll do New Year's Eve there. So we booked up for a hotel, got tickets to the Tall Trees.
Tall Trees, where I used to go on there.
And so 210 miles up the road for a night out.
All right. What year was that when you went to Tall Trees?
Oh, it must have been... 95,
right.
96.
I might be there New Year's, isn't it? All right. It's good. It's a good place.
Yeah,
It's
and
a good
then,
place.
as funnily enough, one of my jobs with the army was I was the adjutant of 34 Signal Regiment in Brambles Farm, down in Borough, and they no accommodation in the officers' mess, being a reserve unit, so they put me into rented accommodation in Yarm, and as soon as I went to go and look for my flat, I was like, I recognise this place, been here before. And I kind of had that feeling when I first settled in that that's where I was going to end up.
All right.
Sure enough, come to the end of my career, instant family, wife and 2 kids in Yarm, and that's where I am.
Nice one. So what do you think made you join the forces? Were your family in the forces?
No, both grandparents, great-grandfathers were army for the war. Apart from that, no, not at all. I just had it. Like a lot of the things I did it on a whim. I tend to get an idea and think, right, I'm going to do that, and I go off. That's what I do. Initially, I tried in about 1997 when I was 19. I failed the medical, had shin splints. Would have done all the tests fine, but when it came to the medical interview, they said, any problems? And I said, well, I get shin splints occasionally. And they said, oh, you can't come in then. You have to come back in 6 months or a year. So knocked it on the head, carried on rubbish jobs in Civvy Street, factory work and sort of car washing, that sort of thing. Then got a girlfriend, so that sort of delayed the idea of going back in. And then that girlfriend decided she was going to go and work in Europe in the holiday camps. So I thought, I'm going to go to the army. Got introduced to a guy that had just passed out into free para. He was doing his satisfied soldier at the recruiting office. And he went, don't go to these hat units, go and be airborne. Go join the paras, it's the only thing you want to do. And I had fairly good maths and English and scored high on the aptitude tests, but I couldn't be convinced to do signals or engineers. I said, I'm going paras and that's it. So, went in and joined, went to 1 para after training. Had my basic A-levels, 2 E's, worst possible A-levels you can get, and that's the minimum requirement for going to Sandhurst. So chain of command at 1 para said, get yourself off to Sandhurst, see if you can get in there. So ended up as a signals officer for most of my career.
Right. Well, so did you do anything when you were in the paras? Like, did you serve anywhere then before you went to become an officer? I
joined the battalion when it was still in Aldershot, and then from Aldershot we did 3 weeks on Sierra Leone or Palliser. So that was most of the battalion, less A Company who were in Jamaica. So we did 3 weeks of getting British passport holders and those with the right to leave out and give the West Side boys a bit of a bloody nose. And then came back, and then we moved to Dover. I can't remember how long the gap was, but then there was that Royal Irish Rangers rescue. And and A Company had just come back from where they'd been in Jamaica, and because they had lots of live firing on the ranges, they were selected to go off and back up the SAS for the rescue. I think that had a lot to do with 1 Para being the unit that was put forward to be the Special Forces Support Group, SFSG as it is now. And the guys did a great job there.
I met someone who was Irish, like I did some stuff at the university, like tell us some terrible tales about that, like terrible, like
horrendous,
terrible, like I mean he suffered really badly through it, and when you read about things, it's completely different when someone tells you, it was actually there, because when you read it off printed, you think, did that happen, you know what I mean, but somebody actually telling you when it was there, like, the hairs on the back of my head, neck was standing up, like, it was so. Anyway, so from there, you went to Sandhurst, eh?
Yeah, did the year, which was a fantastic experience. After doing basic training for the Barras, wouldn't call it a holiday park, but it was much more relaxed, much more, but also intense in a different way. Obviously, a lot more taxing on the brain, and I decided I want to get into boxing as well. I couldn't get into the 1 Para boxing team. A bit of a sort of a closed group, and you had to be proper nails to get into that. But at Sandhurst, I put myself forward and got into the boxing training, keep my fitness up as well as doing all the sort of mill skills, fitness and tabbing. Boxing was probably about the fittest I've been.
I did the same when I was in 1LI. I joined the boxing team in Depot, and that's the fittest I was, like, really.
Yeah.
But I said earlier on a previous podcast, I sort of did it as a bit of a blag because I thought it would be easy, and I ended up doing an hour before work and an hour after work, as well as everything else, so it wasn't a blag. But I enjoyed it, and I won my fight, and it was good. Like, it's a good thing, boxing. It's good. Not getting punched in the face is that good, like, but learns you a lot of skills, doesn't it? A lot of like life skills. Bizarrely, because it's just a sport, but it learns you a lot, like, and a lot of stuff you can do on your own,
Yeah, discipline.
Discipline, mind things, you've got to do things in a specific way, and if you don't, you're going to get smacked on. So that's a good thing to take into life anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I've still got a fairly straight nose. I had 5 heavyweight fights.
All right.
Won all of them.
Did you? Oh, yeah, I'll keep my cheek down and that.
The pressure was always on as an officer boxing. The Sandhurst fight, not so much, being an officer cadet. But yeah,
did you fight normal ranks, like when you were officer?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I fought full screw, sergeant. Don't know. Yeah, a couple of.
Right.
I fought private from 1 Para. That was an anomaly. They 2 Signal Regiment in York. They usually host a charity boxing night, and fighters come from all over the country, and 1 Para sent up there heavyweight to fight me. So I probably should have lost that one. He was way better than me, and I think he wanted to get over in the first round, and he came at me just raining punches, and I had my guard up on my forehead. And I thought, I've either got a clattering one or that's going to be curtains in about a minute. So I just waited for a pause, stepped back and smashed him on the chin, and he went down.
Looking for you there.
Oh, yeah. And he got back up, he was fine, but it's sort of taken the wind out of his sails. And I kind of bossed him on from there.
Nice one. So what do you think was the sort of best part of being an officer? Obviously, because I was never an officer, so...
I think it's being able to look after your blokes, and that's still the case now. The biggest responsibility I think you have as an officer is reporting to, or the MS side, we call it military secretary, is looking after people's careers. So the biggest part of that is probably the report at the end of the year, the SJAR report. But as well as that, it's the career management between those reports. So setting their objectives at the start of the year, making sure they know what they're supposed to be doing, getting them on the courses they need to be eligible for promotion. I'm guessing a lot of soldiers that come out before their time is probably because they haven't had proper MS support from their chain of command. So I always try and make that the biggest priority I have, and then everything after that's a bonus.
So how old were you when you became an officer?
24, 25,
And how old are you now?
43.
So you've been in the army? What?
Yeah, just over 20 years.
Aye.
21 years.
And you plans to stay?
Well, I'm in post at the moment for another 2 years. And then after that, there may be other jobs come up. And it'll depend what I want to do civilian-wise. Depends on how writing books goes.
How your books going?
Yeah.
You might be just sitting in the south of France writing books, won't you?
Yeah.
In the warm weather?
But it works well as a reservist because I can do as many days, in certain positions you can do as many days as you want. As long as there's sort of valid work to be done. I can't just sit around signing in and not get anything done. So as long as I'm doing something worthwhile, I can do as many days up to 207 as I want. However, if, say I want to be writing 4 days a week, I can drop that down and only do 2 days a week in the office or a day in the week in the office. And again, it depends on what role I go into after this one. If it's a really intensive job where they need someone that's doing almost full days, then that wouldn't work so well with a full-time sort of book schedule. So yeah, it works well at the moment. It works perfectly, in fact.
What do you think, if you had to go back when you were, I was going to say servant soldier, when you were not an officer?
Regular.
Yes.
When
you
rank.
Oh, the rank guy. I was trying to, I'm trying to be politically correct and just say something. But when you weren't an officer, what do you reckon was the best parts of your career?
It was very brief. Obviously, basic training was a big chunk of that. Camaraderie in that platoon, 648 platoon, for the paras that know. Fantastic, seeing people get through, other people fall by the wayside and seeing why they fell by the wayside. I say, I didn't find it easy by any means. One of the bigger, stronger guys, but like I say, with a hole in the heart trying to do P company and all those tests, I didn't realise why. I thought I was just lazy,
Knackered,
useless. So no matter how hard I trained, I always found it really, really hard. And having a hole in the heart, not having that back pressure on the blood, explains why I struggled on events like the log, the 2 miler, the shorter, faster events. But with that sort of base level fitness, anything like the 20 miler, the 10 miler even, not a problem. I've got that because I've worked so hard at my fitness because I have to.
What was P company like?
Oh, hell.
Was it?
Yeah. I've done quite a lot of physical challenges and I reckon that's still the hardest.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely.
So which part do you reckon was, or just all of it?
Log race and stretcher race. The trainasium and the milling, I would have done that all day long for fun. But yeah, those sort of real high intensity, fast paced events were really what kills me.
I had a go at the, what did you call it? The high...
Trainasium.
I had a go at that, like when I don't know what I was doing down all the shot when I was in. But I had a go at that, and I like that. I like that sort of stuff. I'm not scared of heights or anything, But logs, not man. Me being on a dwarf, obviously it comes at the front. It's fucking uncomfortable, man. It's like that, you know what I mean? All the weight on top of it's like, it's horrendous. Unless it would get in the middle and gone like that. You know what I mean? I'm not really holding it.
You're right, I'm a stretcher race.
I'm just not holding it, you know what I mean? Alright, so, I mean, when I was a kid, in the 80s, early 80s, there was a show about the paras.
Yeah, I've seen.
And I watched that religiously, like, and I thought, like, I would like to join the paras. That's what I thought at that time. And it was just when I went to the careers office. It must have been a light infantry careers bloke, just like the normal, whatever they are, that's what you got to join, you know what I mean? And, I don't know if I would have managed in the paras or not, but it would have been.
Yeah, any size or shape. Yeah, that's not really a determinant. It's all about the heart.
Yeah. Fucking hell, you had a hole in yours, man.
Yeah.
So did your hole in the heart, was that diagnosed when you were in? So did they not say you had to get out?
No, that came up. I say it was after the stroke diagnosis and the further investigations. Why has he had a stroke? Most likely hole in the heart. So they checked I went for the check for the hole in the heart. They have to put this thing down your throat, and they, like the cardiogram. You when you're ultrasound for a baby, they did the same thing, but from inside your throat. And they because it's the closest they can get to the heart. So they sent me this letter saying, turn up at this time, no eating 3 hours before. So like 3 hours and 1 minute before, I was throwing down
As much as you can.
as much as I could. Anyway, they put this thing down, and I was like half out. I don't know if it was gas or drug, whatever drug it was that sort of put me off to sleep. And I've got vague recollections of just throwing up all over this room when I tried. They just about got enough imagery in my heart before I puked up all over the place.
They're horrible, but you just even the thought of it. No, it's not for me. That like. So you when you were an officer and you went to the signals.
Yeah, I decided the paras was my sort of physical challenge, and so I thought something a bit more cerebral. So obviously the Sandhurst pushed me a little bit. Got through that by the skin of my teeth, and then I looked at a technical corps. I got my options down to signals and engineers by I think it was the middle of the second term, so about halfway through my time. And then it came to the interview process. I had my signals interview first, and I passed that. Told I provisionally got a place. And then I kind of treated the engineers interview as well, I've got signals. Why should I come to you? And they went, well, if you got signals, sounds like you're happy with that. Off you go. And so that was that. It was a fairly short interview.
So really short. It's 2 minutes, mate. Get out.
You think you are?
Do you want to explain just for anyone who's not military and watching, because we do get people who are not military, just exactly what the signals do?
Yeah. So the Royal Signals are the communications arm of the army. They obviously we have radios. Every unit pretty much has radios, so the troops can talk to each other at sort of unit level. Some CAT badges have rear link detachments, which can be provided by Royal Signals, normally headed up by a sergeant, and that is the sort of lower level of what we do in terms of getting the sort of trunk communications back into the higher formation. But really for us it's at brigade and divisional level communications, so high capacity data networks. They say we're like the British Telecom of...
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to describe it like, British Telecom. Right.
And even more so in the reserve. So we have 81 Signal Squadron that really is the BT of the army, because it's all British Telecom installation technicians and BT people doing the army reserves, and they'll go off on 2-week camps every year and fully fit out a headquarters or some sort of big comms project like that.
So you were in the regulars though, so how long were you in the regulars before you went into the reserves?
As a signals officer, 14 and a half years. So I got to my officer's pension point just as my intermediate commission was about to run out, and because of the wife and kids I decided not to extend or apply to extend, and it just ran out naturally. I hit my pension and came up to lovely Sunderland to work.
Oh, good, right, fucking hell, it's a brilliant place, man. It's a bit windy at the minute, like.
Yeah.
In your 14 years, what was your standout moment, do you think? Or you stand out? I always like to ask where people were posted, because you normally get a decent story out of someone where they were posted, you know. Yeah,
best posting for me was 216 Parachute Signal Squadron. That was the fantastic. Had the best of both worlds. They had the technical, keen soldiers of the signals who were also para-trained, or a lot of them were para-trained. So the time I got to spend with the airborne signallers is something else. And I go back every year I can. I go back to the KFORP reunion down near Grantham. We get looked after by the villagers. Back in World War II, KFORP was where the airborne signallers from 1 and 6 divs formed up, and because of the long planning timelines, they ended up staying around that village for weeks and weeks. Barracks wasn't big enough, so some of the soldiers ended up living with the villagers, and we've had that connection going all the way back. So I think the first reunion was about 1981, but every year since then we've tried to jump in to the DZ that's still there on the Thursday and the Friday and the Saturday. The Friday night's just a huge session. Some people go off and they go to a special dinner for old villagers, squadron members and veterans. And then the Saturday's a huge big fete. They have the para lob-in the morning. The squadron football team plays the village football team. Really big family fun occasion. I think the Wagon and Horses pub makes more in that weekend than it does for about 6 months of the year. It's just a gleaming weekend to catch up with old mates.
And what about your actual, like, say, country or operation or anything? What would you think would be a standout?
Yeah, again, probably with 216, Op Herrick 4, 2006. That was I was detached from the squadron, thank God, because I would have been the nighttime ops officer at the 16th Brigade headquarters, which would have been toilet. So I was detached to go off with the command group from 7RHA, or 7 Para, as some people don't like to call it. And so we were the first operational mentoring liaison team to work with the Afghan National Army, taken over from American reservists who had a small staff there as the soldiers started coming from their training, and basically built a whole brigade from, I think there's less than a battalion's worth when we arrived. And through that tour, as they were sort of trained up and become competent, we started taking them out on the ground in platoon size strength with a couple of our mentors. And they were going out to places like the big names everyone knows now: Sangin, Kajaki, Musakala, all those kinds of sort of areas. The platoon would end up inevitably getting into stirring up a hornet's nest with the Taliban. They'd send out a couple of Chinooks full of free para and blitz the place, and then establish a sort of a forward operating base. So yeah, mentoring those soldiers, and then I went up on a big convoy. We took a load of vehicles up to Sangin, to Fob Robinson, and while I was up there, we ended up going out on the ground to try and track down a lost UAV, and we ended up getting a Taliban ambush on the way back in from that. And that was the kind of moment, you know, a lot of people join the army to see if they've got the guts to do stuff, and that was my time where I sort of proved to myself that I was a good soldier. So that is the big standout memory.
That is the reason people join the army, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it sounds mental, doesn't it? But that is the reason that, you know, you want something like that to happen. And it's scary when it happens, but, you know, I don't know what the feeling, you would describe the feeling, but it's a bit scary, but it's exciting, and, you know, and for some reason you fucking laugh. It's obviously nerves, you know, but when anything's happened to me, I just laughed at it.
Yeah.
You know, and luckily I'm still here. So when you left the regulars into the reserves, what was that transition like? Was it just an easy thing for you, or?
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward for me, because I'd gone from a staff job at 11 Signal Brigade, and part of my job, because I don't know if you know about Op Fortify, which was the regular army's support to recruit in the reserves.
Right.
So it's basically my job for my last 2 years to recruit reserve units. So it would have been a bit difficult for me to get to the end and say, I'm not joining, after plugging it for 2 years. So. And because of my experience with 34 Signal Regiment, going to the surviving squadron from that unit, I knew pretty much everyone there already. And it was very much part-time when I first started. Like I say, I came straight into a job in Sunderland. Very lucky. Through my resettlement, I must have applied for about 25 jobs. Only had one interview, and that was with Sunderland Council, who were about to put the tall ships event planning process underway. So I worked on that project for 3 years. Fantastic time. It was like the most interesting staff job I could have done in the army. Probably more travel than I had with the army as well. Because in the build-up you have to go and represent Sunderland at all the events with Sail Training International. So I worked on that. I had a great little team there. A couple of the names of that team appear in the book.
Aye.
Yeah. And it was phenomenal. The event did so much for the city. I don't know what proportion of your listeners will be from Sunderland, but that event, it cost a lot of money. There's a bit of negative press about how much it cost.
It's always negative press. It doesn't matter what happens.
Goes with the territory.
People mourn that now happens.
Yeah.
People mourn when something happens and it costs money.
Yeah.
You know, there's always going to be people mourning.
But
I've worked that out, like.
Yeah, it brought in millions and millions for the local economy, but much more than that. The project put about 175 kids from Sunderland on those tall ships who had the time of their life, and a lot of those kids would have been thinking, no one's going to invest in me, no one's going to let me do anything like that. They get on these ships and they come back and they like change people. It's the classic, he's been in the army for 5 weeks and now he irons his clothes and tidies his bedroom, and It's exactly that. It's like a condensed version of your first 5 weeks of training, going away on that ship, being given a bit of responsibility, being able to steer a 400-ton ship, and you come back and you open your eyes, you realise people will invest in me, and there are opportunities. It's like the classic, most undersubscribed course in the army is the Apache helicopter course, because who's going to let sig fucknuts go and fly an Apache? Well, people don't apply it because they don't think they'll be allowed to. So yeah, people just need to grasp the opportunities.
I think that was a really good thing for the city. I went down a couple of... I was run along the riverside all the time. And I went down a couple of times when the weather was nice. I think one day the weather was shit, but the rest of the time it was really nice. And it brings people into the city. I'm all for everything that happens in Sunderland. Anything that's good or boosts its sort of standing, you know. That's why with Vix, I'm hoping Vix will be the sort of thing that everywhere in the country looks at and think that's the way it should be done. That's my dream, you know. Yeah. It came from Sunderland to start with. Like. Very patriotic to Sunderland, like, to be honest.
Yeah, it's brilliant what you've done here.
Oh, cheers, man. Cheers.
And I've done a lot of research into Sunderland as well, because we had to look at what the event was, what we're selling. It's not just a case of come along and buy some sweets on the quayside and look at the boats. It's what's in the history, what's here, why do people want to come to Sunderland? And that with the 2021 bid for culture, there's just so much here. All the history of the glass and the quays and Sunderland Maritime Heritage, all the restoration work they're doing there, all the little projects that are going on. The councillors are all up for doing good stuff for their communities. Really good to see.
People slag the council off, but they've only been good to me. You know, I speak as I find, and people have been good to us, so you know, I'm not going to knock them for it. You know, just because my fucking bin doesn't get emptied to once a fortnight, you know what I mean? There's some more important things to me, you know, and if Sunderland can stand out, great. Because all my childhood, everything was all about Newcastle, you know, when the shipyards and the pits closed, like, they got the metro, and it didn't fucking come to Sunderland. You know what I mean? All that money went to the metro for them.
It still don't, does it?
It does now. You know, honestly, everything went to Newcastle. And it's always talked about Newcastle. If you ever see anything about the North East, it's always them bridges across the town. Always, you know what I mean? But hopefully, you know, we can have a bit of that, you know. And that's what I hope, anyway.
And the Wearmouth Bridge is much nicer.
Well, it's fucking shite through there, mate. Shite. So, when you're in the reservists, do you get much to travel?
Yeah, I've been away a few times. Done exercise Lion Star. Went to Cyprus for 2 weeks last year. We did a battlefield study. Went to Jersey. Didn't realise there were battlefield studies on Jersey.
Right.
But the Germans invested about 10% of their defences resources in Jersey, thinking that would be the first place we'd go.
Yeah.
We just bypassed it, and it meant the rest of Europe was defended less heavily. So we did that for, it was going to be a 5 or 6 day tour, but somehow the staff sergeant that organised it managed to blag us tickets across to get to Normandy for the 6th of June, which is like paratroopers, like Mecca is to get to Peggy Bridge on 6th of June. So I achieved that. We went to the Merville Battery, minibus piled in, but I saw 2 of my members from the Parachute Regiment Association that had just jumped in and were making their way back to the bridge, which was where their campsite was. So I just cabbed a lift with them and went off and enjoyed a bit of airborne on the bridge.
Nice. All that the Pegasus Bridge and that, you know, it's a piece of history that everyone knows about, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I watch a lot of football. Unfortunately, I support Sunderland, but you know, I was just there's a team in there that had the Pegasus thing up, and that was just the other day. My mate was showing us that picture, you know. So it's amazing. Like, if we went on to, when did you start writing books?
I'd used, you know, you get your enhanced learning credits from the army. Well, I wanted to use those up, and I had a 2-year tour in Saudi Arabia, so I started doing a business degree, just to use my enhanced learning credits up and give me something to do. Hadn't really figured that I'd need to carry that on for another 4 years after the Saudi tour. Worked out fine for my last job at 11 Brigade, because I was 4 nights in the officers' mess and nothing to do, so cracked out a good good middle year, and then the last one I had to do while I was doing the tall ships job, so commuting up and down sort of 40 miles every day, and I had wife and 2 kids distracting me in the nicest possible way.
Oh, they're not watches, man. You can call them.
So I was basically doing about 20 hours of extra work on the laptop a week, and then when I finished my degree, had about a 6-month break, but then I had this idea watching news reports of like the London attacks, and every time they said, the perpetrators were known to the authorities and they were recorded on the UK terror watch list. And I just thought, imagine if you could get hold of that watch list, what would you do with it as a squaddie? You'd go and hunt them down, wouldn't you?
Right.
So I come up with the idea for the book. And it was, I remember exactly, it was the 26th of May 2017, because it was the same night as the Ariel Grande bombing in Manchester. So I'd written about 500 words of notes, and I'd come up with the idea and the structure of the story. And then I turned on the TV, and on the news, there's bomb gone off. I was like, Jesus Christ, another one. So that sort of spurred me on to carry on writing it. And in fact, the first chapter has a few parallels to the Ariel Grande bombing, but it was almost identical, because I wrote it retrospectively. I've done about the first 5 chapters. I thought it needs a scene setter, so I wrote it. It's basically the same sort of event, but in Birmingham, at Birmingham Arena. And my wife read the first draft when I finished it months and months later, and she said, it's too similar. You're going to have to cut that. So I had to rewrite the whole of the first chapter, and it went from being a stadium or an arena concert to like a kids' festival in a park somewhere.
You thought my wife's a bit critical, is she?
Yeah.
He's putting all that graft in for you. All you wanted is to say, it's all right, man. No, it's spot on, that.
No, I can always rely on her to be
Put your feet back on the ground.
Yeah.
Aye.
And you want to keep on the right side of it if you're going to do the Great North Run again.
No, I'm never doing the Great North Run again. No chance.
She's done the medical temp for that
Aye.
since she was a junior doctor about 15 years ago. She's done it every year.
Well, I did it once. I would never do it again. I'm running a marathon, right? I'm running Amsterdam Marathon. Fucking knows why, but I'm doing that. But I would never do the Great North Run again. No chance. No way. But a funny story about the medical tents. So I've never done a run like that before, ever. And I never trained or anything. And then everyone's giving you sweets and all that. And then there was loads of like medics, and it looked like they had like loads of jellies, right? And I'm not joking, yeah. I went to get some, and it was fucking Vaseline. Luckily, I never ate it because I couldn't get a drink anyway. And I would have been, And then when I'd finished and my nipples were bleeding, which I've still got hard nipples now for all these months later, I realised it was to rub on there.
Yeah.
See, I know about it now. But I'm gonna wear a bra when I do the marathon. I definitely. Yeah. I kind of be bleeding again, like it's no good.
I did the Marathon des Sables in Morocco.
Is that in the desert?
Yeah, 150 miles in...
Jesus.
Like the 6 stages over 7 days. So the long stage in the middle was 81.5k.
So you have to carry on water as well?
You get issued water every time you arrive at a checkpoint. You get given a 1.5 litre bottle, and when you finish a stage, you get given 4.5 litres of free bottles. And you get plenty before the race starts. But yeah, lasts you, right?
Fuck. I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Marathon? That must have been... Is that the hardest thing you've ever done?
Again, I compare that to P Company. I always say P Company was harder because with me trying to get speed. Whereas there was no pressure on that. I wanted to do well. I wanted to come in the top half. But that was only my self-induced pressure. And even I know I was going to do that fairly okay, because I've been training. I cheated, really. I'd lived in Saudi Arabia for 18 months and was training in the desert every weekend. Most people have to get into some sort of pressure thing and do treadmill running in artificial heat, but I'd had the blessing of being in Saudi.
So how did you train for that? And, like, I'm asking you this, right, because I asked somebody about training for a marathon, and they went, yeah, you should run 2 marathons before you do that marathon. Like, as training, and I haven't got time to do that. You know what I mean? I was just thinking, like, I'll just run a little bit before I do it. So I've managed to get up to, I think I've been training for a month now, and I'm up to 6 miles. And the idea, in my mind, would be just to keep going up a mile every week, and then maybe get a 20 mile, and then run 20 mile maybe a couple of times, but then no more than that. I mean, I might be totally wrong with all this, but I don't see the point in running a marathon before I run a marathon where it's a proper one. You know, I don't know, what's your thoughts on that? If you've got any advice, please send it my way, like, because...
Yeah, I think you just got to... It depends on how much time you got free. I was quite lucky in Saudi Arabia. Like, the work routine was sort of fairly shortish hours because of the heat got so much in the afternoons. The Saudis weren't working. So I did what UK sort of side work I had to do. But it's fairly late start, so I could get out before the sun was up and do a few sessions. The real limiting factor was the space, because doing laps of a compound, which is only about a mile and a half around, it gets pretty soul destroying when you're trying to do long distances. So
how far would you have run in a training?
In camp, I'd probably do sort of 10k, 15k. Right. Then at weekends, it'd just be going out and finding routes around in the desert, just parking up randomly and heading off into the Ulu.
So 10 mile, 20 mile what?
Yeah, we did. I was training with a project manager from BAE Systems. He was like elite category, so however far I was running, he was running laps around me. But I think we were doing like a marathon in a day, but sort of my steady pace. And then we got to test all the camping equipment and kit. And because I was blogging everything I was doing, the blog's still online. It's quite a good read.
You have to tell us that after.
But I was... Yes, I was writing up all the kit I was using, how I was saving weight, what to look for in the sand, footprint patterns, where to identify soft and hard sand for better grip. Anyway, I tested this sleeping bag, which weighed next to nothing, but it was really thin, but it was only 25 quid. And I tested it in the desert, fine, perfect. So I wrote the blog article. A load of the guys that I ended up sharing a tent with bought the same sleeping bag. And it was freezing cold in Morocco. Nothing like Saudi desert. It was ice cold. We were in these rubbish sleeping bags, absolutely gibbering. The scabby like carpets that they put in the bottom of the bivouacs, we were having to fold those over, like all fleas and camel hair and all that falling off on us. But that's what we're doing to keep warm.
Yeah. Didn't bother sending that blog out, right? with your advice. So doing that, man, I mean that blows my mind. I mean, I've picked Amsterdam Marathon. There's two reasons. I used to smoke a lot of weed, right? But it's 10 years since I stopped, so I thought do it there. But the other reason, and the real reason, was because it's fucking flat. And after seeing the Great North Run, I thought I didn't want any banks in it. So I'm hoping that plays to my strength of just running flat, you know. And I'd be lying if I says I wasn't worried about it, doing it, you know. I mean, I have these ideas, but like yourself, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. And I did that 5 couch to 5k.
Yeah.
So I did that. I did, what was it called? Park run. Did park run 3 times, and I thought, I did that all right. So I'll do the 10k. Knee train, just did the 10k. And I thought, oh, well, next year I'll do a half marathon. So I did that. That was all right. And then I thought, I'll do the Great North Run. And then the natural thing was just to keep doubling it. And I thought, all right, I'll do a marathon.
Yeah, give it a year or so, you'll be on the marathon to Saba.
Fuck, I doubt it. I'll probably never run again after this marathon, like, because now I'm starting to, like, just the training. People keep, I don't have to just wind us up, but they keep telling us I've got to do all this stuff and the amount of time you take. And I read a blog the other day of a marathon thing, and it was saying, oh, you haven't really got time to do it, but you should be spending 5-6 hours a week on your thing. And like, I do stuff every night, but I haven't got like 5 hours to spare, you know. I'm busy all the time.
So like you're saying about doubling it up, when I was in Qatar, I went away as a troop commander, as a junior officer, did a few months in Qatar, and I wanted to get better abs. I wanted a 6-pack, so I started doing one big ab session every week, and it would go on for about an hour. And I'd start the training session with the maximum PFA sit-ups I could do, like the army test sit-ups. And so after started with about 40 on the first set, 60, weeks go by, 100, 150, 200. By the end of the 3 months, I could do 1,000 in one set. And then every time I went away after that, so I went off to Jamaica, I did Afghanistan, and I'd get up to the 1,000 sit-ups. When I went out on Herrick, 12 and 13, 15 and 16, which was 2012 to 2013, because it was a 6-month tour and I could do 1,000 pretty much when I got there. I just started doing stupid numbers of sit-ups. Like I was getting in the gym fairly late because it was a busy job, sort of 9 o'clock in the evening, and I was still there doing the same set of sit-ups when the gym shut at 11.
Aye.
So I started doing sit-ups with a 15 kilo plate on my chest, and I got up to 1,500 with the 15 kilo plate.
Without stopping?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So I thought, there's got to be a way to do something for charity with this. So I decided I was going to do the whole lunchtime period outside Camp Bastion doing PFA sit-ups, and anyone could guess how many I was going to do, pay $2 in Camp Bastion, pick a number between 2,500 and 5,000, and winning number gets a prize. So I got one of my mates worked for one of the contractors, give me an iPad as a prize. Got loads of money donated by the big contracting companies, and we raised about $4,000 from people guessing on the sort of lottery for it. So I raised about $6,000. I did 2.5 hours of sit-ups and did 4,267.
Did you?
Which equated to 99 PFA passes at my age, because I think it was 43 sit-ups was a pass.
Oh. How long did that take?
So 2.5 hours, 150 minutes.
You must have been sore after that.
Yeah. not the abs though.
No,
lower back.
your back. Your back. I just had the thought, because I've had back trouble myself, like, and just the thought of that, like, oh God, man.
So I did a rehearsal 2 weeks before up at Lashkar, in private. Set the stopwatch, did it, and I only got about 3,500. I thought that's rubbish. So I started doing sprint sessions. You know, the big Olympic weights.
Right.
So from 25 kilos down to 5 kilos. So I'll pick up the 25 kilo, do 100 as fast as I could, chuck that, have a little break, 20 kilo, 100 as fast as I could, chuck that, 15, 10, 5, then none. So 600 sprints of 100, or 6 sprints of 100. And I did that 3 times, and then added about 800 onto my total.
Fucking hell, man. Yeah. I applaud you, because like I say, my back's hurting just thinking about that. Like. So, should we start talking about your book?
Yeah, okay.
Obviously you mentioned it's a little bit about, it's called The Watch List. You got the idea from the Manchester bombing. Do you want to describe it? I mean, don't give too much away, because they won't buy it if you tell what happens in the end.
A lot of people think, it's a book about watches. Like, I don't want to read it
from Rolex. From Rolexes.
Yeah, it's so the first chapter's a scene setter. Big terror incident goes off, like hundreds sort of injured, 68 I think it is dead. At the time when this guy Alex he's ex-Royal Signals technical guy, and he's doing a contract job working for the MOD main server building, and they've got a problem with their new system that's coming online. It won't talk to MI5, it won't talk to Northern Ireland office, and they need a quick fix. So they get this guy Alex in, and he works on it, supervised by Corporal Lucy Butler, and so he works on cracking the solution to get this system working again. And whilst he's letting his systems do their searches and filters and all that sort of thing, he starts browsing through the MI5 network because he's got access to it, and he finds this list Zulu, and clicks on it, and it opens up, and it's the UK terror watch list, 23,000 names of potential terror suspects. And he's like, bloody hell. And similar sort of mindset to me. He has an idea, and that's it, he's off, and he's going to nick the watch list. Doesn't really know what he's going to do with it, but he happens to see a guy called Craig Medhurst spouting off on Facebook about terrorists and bombs going off, and we should do this and we should do that, and he's an ex-Hereford bloke. So Alex thinks, I'll nick it and I'll take it to him and see what him and his mates want to do with it. And so from there they come up with a plan on how to take down the worst of the bad guys on the list.
All right. It sounds good, man. So I'm not just saying it because you're here. Actually, I was enthralled there. Yeah. Do you think it'll get made into a film? Or would you like?
I'd like it to, definitely. And I've already messaged Phil Campion, Big Phil, on Twitter, saying I've got this book, and the lead character from the SAS is a bit like you. So if they make a film, do you want to lead it? It's like, yeah, all right.
Have you not thought of any, like directors that you would?
Oh, yeah, I think I also tweeted Guy Ritchie as well.
All right. Yeah. Good. Guy Ritchie would be good.
Yeah.
But if you got Tarantino or someone like that, they'd just Americanise it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would be no good.
Yeah, it'd be like the what was it, the Feathermen by Ranulph Fiennes was
Aye.
turned into the Killer Elite.
Aye. Have you wrote any other books?
I'm on chapter 9 of the second one.
And is that a follow-up to this?
Yeah, so one of the bad guys that disappears off the radar in the first book, yeah, he's the lead focus for the second one. But yeah, I can't really, because
Don't tell us.
so many twists in the first one.
Don't tell us
can't
too
tell you
much
much.
about it. When's that available to buy? Like,
It's on Amazon now. It's been on since the end of November. Sold about 300 copies so far.
so just the people watching this type in the watch list and
if
it'll come up.
You type in the watch list, Joseph Mitcham, and yeah, it'll come up. It's available on Kindle. It's £3.50 on Kindle. If you've got a Kindle Unlimited subscription, then it's free. Or if you want paperback, it's £10.
And what about audio?
No, I'm looking into that. It costs, you can imagine the recording time in that, it costs a good couple of grand to have a book recorded. And unless my sales jump massively, it's not going to be cost effective to do. I thought about doing crowdfunding though. A few people said they'd chip money if I crowdfunded the...
Funny you should say crowdfunding. So this building, I need to buy it. So got a bit of a shock. It got put up for sale just after the day I opened, after I'd spent all the money on it. So we've came now to the with the landlords, which is a charity called Springboard. Brilliant with us, and they've sort of said, well, you don't have to buy it, but like because that's happened, it's really worried us. Some of the clients were crying, and it was horrible. So we've decided, well, really we need to buy it. So we're going to do crowdfunding. We're going to try and crowdfund to pay for this. Like, so we've got a few. We have a video by Ross Kemp to start it off, and Joe, our media lad from Tile Image, is going to sort of coordinate a proper crowdfunding strategy. So I mean, it's all new to me, but hopefully it'll pay off. Like, as long as we get enough. I mean, I don't know how it works in time wise, but if the charity's watching Springboard, if you can just give us about a year to pay for it, right, that'd be ideal. You know what I mean? Because 120 grand's a lot of money to me, but a year it would be possible, I suppose. I mean, it's still 10 grand a month, But we touch wood quietly though, so I don't bang it on the table. Right, mate. Is there anything else you want to advertise while you're here?
No, just even if you don't buy the book, if you know people that would be interested, then spread the word.
Yeah. Well, what we can do, obviously, we'll advertise on here, but if you send us something that we can put on our page, the link to buy it and a picture or whatever, and we'll put that on our page for you, and we'll tweet it and put it on LinkedIn and Instagram as well, because we have all social media, and we've got quite a few followers as well. And people are interested, and I'm interested now, and I never read.
Well, I really hope it is the kind of book that can bring people to reading. 'Cause I never read books until I picked up The Feathermen by Ranulph Fiennes, and I read that and I was like, wow, it's really good use of my time. I think this storyline will hopefully snag a few people and get them into reading.
Well, it's an interesting thing because you're exactly right, and I don't know if it's just squaddies who would think that, but like if you could get that list, you know what I mean? It would it's like the golden ticket of Willy Wonka, isn't it? Yeah. Right, mate. Thank you very much for coming in. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, and anything you need from us, any help we can give you in the future, just let us know. All right.
Lovely. Thanks
very much, man. Cheers.
Yeah.